Hi there, and welcome to ManchTalk. I'm Representative Tammy Simmons. I'm your host, and I am glad to see that you're returning to see another episode of my show. This week, I'm joined by a colleague from the State House. Frank Edelblut represents Wilton, I believe.
Well, so actually I represent one of the large floteria districts, so I have 10 towns.
Okay.
I live in the town of Wilton, though, so that was very good.
So Representative Frank Edelblut, who's one of my colleagues at the State House, is joining me today. If you don't know, Frank Edelblut is one of the 4 Republicans running for governor here in New Hampshire, and I'm glad to have you here with me today.
I'm glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for getting up so early.
It wasn't that early, honestly, but it was a beautiful morning this morning.
It was.
Wasn't it?
At least it's not so hot.
Yeah.
The heat was crazy, and then the rain was crazy, and then the heat was crazy.
Actually, at my house, we had a lightning strike on a tree. One of these big, huge oak trees like this.
Yeah.
And it just peeled the bark off of the thing, like all the way
really
down.
Bad.
It was kind of scary.
Luckily in our yard, we haven't. I didn't even see really any limbs down, but the rain came down so fast and so furious.
Right.
And then it was over.
But we did need the rain.
We do. We definitely need the rain. The river's got a little bit more water in it. The grass is.
The garden is a little bit happier, right?
I'm lucky I live in the city, so, I got water that just keeps coming and coming. But for people who have wells and live out in the country, or people who have big gardens, So
I have wells, but in addition to serving in the State House, I'm a water commissioner as well.
You are?
I am in my town.
Huh.
Right.
So what's a water commissioner in a town like?
I personally don't use the water system in the town,
Yep.
but in the town we have 700 households that we service.
Yep.
And, it's denser population downtown in that
Yeah.
area. And so, folks are on the water and sewer system down there.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I always wonder what it's like in towns, because I've lived in
The big
Manchester
city?
the big city of Manchester for, a couple decades, and I grew up in the city. And
so in the small towns, like everybody, all hands on deck.
Yep.
Like everybody has a role somewhere in the town to do something.
It's kind of neat. It's actually, in some ways, it's a lot. Like you said, it's a lot more hands-on. Does make it for a challenge sometimes, I find, at the State House, because the folks living in towns don't have any concept what it's like in the city. It's not as easy.
Right.
You have your town meetings, and you can all argue about the budget, and we don't get that opportunity. We elect people, and then we're kind of stuck with whatever they want to do.
Although it could be as well that the people from the towns feel like the people from the city don't know what we're dealing with, right?
I agree. There are things that I'm like, I don't know what that means.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you don't have to deal with it.
Right, and I'm like, somebody will tell me.
Yeah.
So, you're running for governor.
I am running for governor, and excited to be doing that, and we've been at this now for a while, and obviously the race is heating up quite a bit.
And changing, it seems.
And changing. We've had a great week.
You have had a great week.
Oh, my gosh. So we got the 603 Alliance endorsement.
Right.
And I think of the 603 Alliance group as kind of like the party platform group. They're the guys who say, here's the platform, do you support the platform kind of thing. Then we received the New Hampshire Liberty Alliance endorsement.
Yep.
And I think of those guys as kind of the Constitution guys.
Yep.
They're saying, like, hey, we want to support a candidate who supports the Constitution.
Yep.
And if I'm not mistaken, I think that our candidacy is the first
I believe so,
gubernatorial
too.
that they've ever endorsed.
I keep trying not to say that, because I'm not 100% sure, but I do believe that this is the first time they've endorsed a gubernatorial candidate.
Yeah, which is
normally
just a great
they
thing.
just do state reps and state senate,
right?
And now they've decided that you're
Stepped
worthy
up,
of their endorsement,
which
so
is
you
great.
should be going
I appreciate
about
that.
Made me happy.
Then we had the Coalition of New Hampshire Taxpayers, kind of the taxpayer watchdog group, and we had a straw poll there, and we did quite well there. I think over 60% of the vote we got.
Took first.
And then just recently, so we were first with over 60%, for those of you who are not feeling like doing math early in the morning. And then we had the Wyndham debate just last week.
Yep.
And there as well, we had the debate and a straw poll, and we won that with 59% of the vote, which was just, I was really appreciative.
I'll be on. I went to the debate because, it's important to me to look
People
at
have
all
to
the
engage,
candidates. I mean,
right.
I keep telling people, one of the top priorities I have this year, and I think all Republicans have to have this year, is that we must elect a Republican governor. It's nice to know that when I see...
I agree with that, by the way.
Right. And I looked at the four candidates on the stage, and I thought, yep, I'll take any of them. I will take you, Jeannie Forrester, Ted Gatzis, Chris Sununu, any of you.
Yep.
That's easy. But then I watched the debate, I listened to everybody's answers, I decided that I just had to, look at who maybe aligned with my mindset.
Right.
I don't all Republicans don't vote in lockstep. We don't all agree 100% of the time.
You mean we're not homogeneous?
No, and I'm okay with that.
Right.
I always say the majority of Republicans at the State House agree with us the majority of the time. some not so much.
Not so
but
much,
that's
right?
okay.
Yeah.
But that's okay. But it's still important to have a Republican majority, and without that Republican in the corner office, so often it just seems we spend so much of the term passing good legislation, and then it just gets
vetoed.
Boop, done,
Yeah.
and we never have the majority large enough.
To overturn the vetoes.
I was lucky to serve once when we had a supermajority, but we still had a Democratic governor. So even like when we were able to pass right to work legislation, we still didn't have the votes.
By like 3 or 4 votes, right?
We just didn't have the votes to overturn.
And I think what's going on too, if you look at kind of this election, people are not really happy with how politics has been going.
Right.
And so, I mean, that's one
I
of
don't even think they're just politics. I think it's government. I think people are not happy with the way most things are going.
Right. I think that's a fair assessment. And so that's really, I mean, part of the appeal that I bring is that, I'm not a career politician.
Yep.
It's true I serve in the State House with you, but I've been there a year and a half now. I say long
and
enough.
serving in the State House, I don't know if that ever makes us actual career politicians.
Well, you certainly, the $100 a year that you're collecting.
It adds to my coffers and everything,
There
but
you go.
I don't know if I'd call myself ever a career politician.
Right. But I say, so a year and a half, I feel like I'm there long enough to know where the problems are, but not long enough to become one of them.
Right. That's fair.
And so, my background is I'm a business guy,
Yep.
right? So I've been spending my career creating jobs and trying to create opportunities for people to advance their careers and earn more money
Yep.
and, be able to take care of their families better, really. Yep. And so I haven't spent my life kind of, wandering the halls of government, figuring out how to spend other people's money.
Yeah.
And that's, when I think that's the thing that people are saying, like, wait a minute, we don't need another politician up there, because they tend not to solve problems. We tend to just kick the problems
Yep.
around or kick the can down the road or something like that.
That was one of the things you said early on in your campaign. I heard you speak once, and you were talking about how the governor shouldn't just be a placeholder.
Right.
They shouldn't just be occupying the office for 2 years and then maybe
Status
another 2
quo,
years,
right?
and just kind of move the ball along a little bit here and a little bit there and give everybody their increases and all the departments grow at, a nice steady rate. Something's got to stop.
Something's got to break. I mean, so what's happening is, the government every year is taking a bigger chunk out of people's paychecks.
Yep.
And at a certain point, there's going to be no paycheck left.
Right.
So
or
then
not
what are we
enough
going to do?
paycheck.
Or not enough paycheck, right, to take care of your bills as well. So again, I bring a business background, which is kind of very much focused on solving problems.
Yep.
I'm an accountant.
Which
Started my
can't be
career.
a bad thing for the governor.
It can't be a bad. Well, you know how to get into the numbers. So
Right.
I'm trained CPA. I've worked with companies around the world, looking at these large organizations, how to make their operations perform well, how to get at waste, fraud, abuse, these kinds of things that are problems in the government sector. So I've been working on this in the private sector, and so I can bring this experience to the government sector.
Right.
And really, if you think about it, I'm running for governor, and so I'm not running for the legislature.
Right.
So I don't have a legislative agenda. That's the legislature, right? And I'm not running for the judiciary. And my job as governor is really to make the state perform like nobody's business. Right. Just deliver. We've got constitutionally limited services that we're supposed to provide as a government. And my job is to make sure that we deliver those so well that you don't even know exist.
Right.
I'm just invisible to you because I've taken care of those problems already. I hope I can get there. And that's what the goal should be, I think.
So being governor isn't just a placeholder so that if you want to run for Congress. No, I'm only kidding.
Yeah. So, honestly, I didn't know I'd run for state rep, let alone run for governor. But backing up a little bit in my career. So trained CPA, had been at PricewaterhouseCoopers for 8 years, left there, did a brief stint as a chief financial officer for a small public company. I was there for about 3 months, and I discovered problems. Potentially criminal, certainly unethical. I'm the CFO. I don't look good in orange. I'm like, what are we going to do here? So I went to the board. I took care of that. And then I got to live the American dream and started a business from my kitchen table.
Awesome.
When my wife, Kathy, who was my wife of 30 years, we've got 7 kids. Yep. We started this business. She got tired of not being able to serve dinner because I got papers all over, but grew that business. Great people. I hired some people who are they were so smart. There's one guy, his name was Rick Mowry. Guy was a very nice guy, smarter than everybody in the room with half his brain tied behind his back. So just really smart people, hard work, grew that business. ended up selling it, and I finished there in 2009, but we had like over 800 employees. We were operating in 20 countries, tens of millions of dollars in revenue. Right, the American dream. I'm
Right.
still pinching myself,
Right.
you know. I mean, a lot of hard work.
Well, I was gonna say it's a lot of hard work, but
It was a lot of
can
hard work. Yes, exactly. It can happen. I mean, and that's really what we want to. We want to create that opportunity for everybody. And then actually, after I sold the business, I continued to try and create those opportunities. So today, I am an investor in startups. You know, so early stage companies. So if somebody has an idea, they know where they want to go. You ever watch Shark Tank?
Yes, and it's funny that you bring up Shark Tank because my Dan,
Okay.
my Dan always says he can't wait to see you be governor because he wants to watch you Shark Tank all the departments.
Yeah, that'd
Like
be fun,
have
huh?
them come in and be like, "Yep, you're out of here."
Yeah.
Nope, go back.
Not investing in
Not
that
investing
program.
in that. Nope.
Can I tell you, I can't wait to sink my teeth into the state budget and really begin to look at this thing on a program by program basis. Like, you know, so we have this program. What are we trying to get out of it? Why are we trying to get this out of
Right.
it? Is it
Is it
meeting
successful?
mission
Is
or
it
not
doing
meeting
any-
mission or not? You know, and we just kind of like drill down and dig deep into these kinds of things, which is, again, what I've been kind of working on, you know, in my career. So I'm happy to do that. And I think it'll be, you know, there's a lot of opportunity in the state. We really do have a lot of, you know, the resources and the infrastructure stuff in place to get a lot of things done. But the problem is there's been no leadership in terms of trying to connect the dots and work with people and help them move the agenda forward. There's nobody managing the state government. We've basically got, you know, a governor who's been, you know, absent quite a bit, obviously. And so you essentially have these commissioners, and they're all running around doing their own thing in their own little space.
And,
but
and they seem to be they act almost autonomously. They just do
they
whatever
do very
they want.
autonomously, and there's not really a lot of coordination between the different groups in terms of who's painting the overall picture of how we're going to move the state forward, which is the role of the governor, and that's what the governor is supposed to be doing, and that's what I'm really looking forward to getting done.
Well, it's interesting because I think last week I talked about how this surplus that, you know, that you read about in the paper, and it's very misleading for people reading it because they think we have this huge pool of money.
There's a
and
big
why
bag
can't
of money up in the
why
State
aren't we
House.
doing something with it when actually we don't even have it? And I was not shocked. None of it ever shocks me, but unfortunately surprised to see that the departments are supposed to be providing quarterly reports, which even
Expense
quarterly,
reporting,
and they're just not. And the governor's not doing anything to make sure they are. How do you run this
How do you run an
huge
$11.5 billion
company
entity
yes. without having any
And you
idea how your
don't-
departments are running?
Yeah, you don't know how much money you've spent.
I mean, and there's no guarantee that they're not all spending beyond their budget. Even
Well-
though we have to balance a budget, there's no guarantee that every department hasn't overspent.
Correct, although by law they're not allowed to overspend.
But-
But we do know that happens because just in the fiscal committee last month, you know, the DHH commissioner came in and he revealed to us, $16 million I overspent my budget.
Yeah, I'm
and you're
over.
like, wait a minute, guys, you can't just overspend this because you want to. So, yeah, that's another part of making the state perform is you got to know how you're doing.
Yeah.
You know, again, here's what the objective is. How are we doing against that objective? Are we getting there or we're not getting there?
I hear
So-
a lot from people when I'm running for office as well. I hear a lot from people that they're not so. It's not so much the amount of money that they necessarily have to pay to the government in the form of taxes. That's actually not true. It is the amount, but
Yeah, because I'm hearing the amount's pretty high.
Well, I was going to say, but when they're whatever the amount they are paying, you know, especially when it comes to property taxes, you know, when people pay your $3,000 or $6,000, you know, depending on where you live and what size house you are. You at least want good quality services in return. I'm okay if it costs money to do whatever. If we really need to do whatever.
And we do it well.
And we do it well.
Yeah.
If I can do it better without giving you my money, then let me just do it myself. And, you know.
And I think even within the government realm, there's a lot of times we can create solutions to problems that don't cost any money.
Right. It's sometimes just a different mindset, you know.
Yeah.
I see things like that in the city. Not that you would know because you're not from Manchester, but that's
Yeah, but
okay.
I spend a lot of time paying attention to what's going on all around the state these days. So I'm
So-
paying attention. I mean, the other thing that we have to focus on here really is our economy.
Yep.
You know, we are at a state, we've got real structural problems here. And so I'm concerned, and this is part of the reason why I'm in the race. You know, I've got 3 of my kids have graduated from college. And one of them took a job in Chicago, one in Northern Virginia, you know, kind of the D.C. area, which, by the way, that's where everybody's money's being spent.
Yep.
And
In
one
case you don't
has
know.
the consolation prize of New Hampshire economic development, which is Boston. You're kind of like close, but
Right.
no cigar. I really want to live in New Hampshire, but I can't because I
can't.
can't get a good job up
Right.
there. You know, which is why we've got 100,000 people every day.
Right.
They go to, you know, Massachusetts, not because they like their cars so much,
Right.
but because that's where they can get a good paying
Right.
job. So we've got these structural problems. We're at 2.6% unemployment. with very low unemployment. We're the second lowest. Actually, so we were at 2.6. We bumped up a little bit to 2.7 in the last month's report. But what we are as well is we're just not growing. So we rank 39th in terms of GDP growth,
Yep.
and we rank 49th in terms of productivity growth. And most people are wanting salary increases.
Right.
They want a pay raise, and pay raises come from productivity growth.
Right.
And we rank almost last in terms of the states in productivity growth.
So even if somebody does get that halfway decent job in New Hampshire,
the
they're
opportunities
just
to
stagnant,
advance,
right?
yeah,
They're just
exactly. You get
stuck there.
and you can't break out. And that's how people are feeling. They're like, gee, I've been doing the same job. I'm pretty much getting the same compensation for the last 5 or 6 years, and I really would like to see, a little bit of an increase going on here. But the problem is, like, we've got all these politicians, and they've got these little gimmicky things that say, okay, what I'm going to do is, I'll create such and such a program. Where I read one of the programs, they're, again, just taking more of our money and saying, like, well, what we'll do is we'll supplement, college education for kids. I'm like, how's that going to solve the job problem?
Right.
How's that going to cause raises and stuff?
Right.
So we need to focus on, skills. We've got kids coming out of the high schools that do not have the skills to engage a 21st century economy. We've got a lot of folks in the state who are probably 50, 55, 60 years old. They're looking at working for another 10 or 15 years, and they also don't have the right skill set to
Right.
match the 21st century jobs that we have. So we have to help them, do a career shift, and that's tough.
Yep,
It's hard
it
to do
is.
that. I mean, I myself have done it a couple times, right? Started as an accountant, was the chief financial officer. Now I'm an investor, entrepreneur, and now I'm working into politics. So it's possible to shift gears, and we've got, opportunities for these people to engage and do that. So we have to work on skills. We've got to work on healthcare costs.
Oh.
Healthcare, yeah, right. Well, do you realize with the Anthem Cigna merger, we're going to have 90% of our health insurance market in one company? I was talking last night. I was with a provider, and it's a small provider,
Mm-hmm.
and they don't even get an opportunity to negotiate reimbursement
No.
rates. They just get them pushed down on
Yeah.
them, and so they're being driven out of business. And so we're limiting choices for people. We're limiting competition. We're consolidating it in our large hospitals in the state and making it very difficult for healthcare costs to be coming down. And it's tough on families, obviously, when healthcare costs are high. I call it now the uninsured insured group, because the deductibles have gotten
Right.
so high.
You have this insurance,
but you have a
can't use
$6,000
it. I mean,
deductible, so you're going to pay the next
Right.
$6,000 out of pocket. And you're like, wait a minute, I just paid you all this money for the premium, and I don't get anything.
Right.
So it's hard on families, but it's hard on businesses too, because when you hire somebody
Now
and you
it's-
want to give them more than 30 hours a week, and you are required to pay for their insurance, it's another $20,000 or $25,000 that
And
you're
every
out of pocket.
every time those Anthem rates go up, which they have no control over,
Right.
automatically that employer's on the hook for that additional money.
So
If their business isn't growing, and
Yeah.
if the economy is not growing, it's like taking a bucket, and you can only take the sand out of the bucket so many times, and eventually the bucket's empty. And unfortunately, and in many cases, it always seems like it's the business owner. Everybody
Who's getting squeezed.
Who's getting squeezed? They're the ones going home with the least amount of sand at the end of the day, because they had to pay their grade. They've got to keep their employees in order to keep their business going, and they've got to pay this health insurance, and they've got to pay the business taxes and all this stuff. And at the end of the day, they'd be better off closing their business and going to work at somebody else's.
Yeah, although
And
the problem will be we just
then
kind of
nobody-
all implode
right,
is the problem. But that's what's happening. So people are not getting the raises, and they assume somehow the business are getting it. But
Right.
really what's happening is the businesses are getting squeezed. Their cost
Yeah.
structure is going up and up and up. And so, they're not benefiting either.
Right.
So it makes it really hard to grow because it's just so expensive to hire people. Electric costs, very high
very
costs in the state, and we keep making these strategic decisions that are just bad. I'm thinking now, it came up about a year and a half ago, and it's back on the radar now, is this whole Bose scrubber.
Yeah.
The firm fixed price contract for $250 million that's costing us $457 million. And the problem is that the electricity that gets generated goes into ISO, and so the electricity cost itself is homogeneous pretty much across the state.
Right.
There's some exceptions to that, but it's these additional costs that we burden ourselves. So that $457 million of stranded costs gets paid by you
Me
and I,
and you.
New Hampshire ratepayers, exactly. So it's not in anybody else's rate structure; it's in
Right.
our rate structure, and we're
Right.
paying for that. So we have to do something about that. We've got business taxes.
Business taxes, and we have such a strange business tax model in the state. Businesses coming to the state. As you know, I serve on the labor committee, so
Yes.
we hear a lot about what businesses, what their checklist is. And people say, "Oh, businesses don't care about right to work." Well, they might not only care about right to work, but it is on the list.
Well, Sturm Ruger's left, and they cited that.
Right. But the business tax whatever you want to call it, the way we assess taxes. I mean, you tax businesses whether they make profit or not, and then you tax their profits on top of it.
Yeah. Well, so I mean, so for people who don't get it, so what we basically have, we have a business profits tax, which is what everybody thinks
makes sense.
Of.
It's profits.
You make money, then you pay tax on that money. But then we have a business enterprise tax too, which is on payroll.
Right.
Do you know how we got that? Do I want to bore you with that?
No, go.
Well, I mean, it goes back a couple of decades, and so in our Constitution, we have what was referred to. We have to have proportional taxation.
Yeah.
And so what was happening is a lot of the large businesses were paying most of the tax burden, and the small businesses.
So instead of making it to reduce the taxes on the big ones, we had to create a new tax to balance it out.
Essentially, what we did is the BET. So we can, but I agree, because BET particularly affects my business because I'm trying to start up companies, and so I might be investing $1 million, $2, $3, $5 million in a company before that company ever makes a cent of profit.
But they're still paying that tax.
But I'm paying taxes, right? So I can go south of the border into Massachusetts, not Mexico, by the way, and
we have our own border problem.
Yeah, we have our own border problem, and I don't have to pay tax on that business as I'm starting it up. So it just is one more thing that helps out. And then the last part is we've just got stifling regulation. That is just like crushing, companies and making it very, very difficult. I was with a manufacturing company a little while ago, and so this individual has a manufacturing in a rural area in the state. So obviously he's on a well service and septic service. He's got 20 acres. He's got 25 employees. He really wants to expand his business, but the way that the system works is if he gets to 26 employees, now he's required to meet the requirements of a municipal water supply, which will cost him tens of thousands of dollars.
So he's never going to.
Well, he wants to hire that next guy, but as soon as he does, it's going to kick in all these other regulations. And I think of this as kind of like progressive thinking at its worst, because think about what this is communicating. I mean, forget the burden and we're stifling growth, but we're saying it's okay to poison the first 25 employees, but
not
26,
the 26.
We draw a line there, And as well, his business is in a community, right?
Right.
And so there are residences all around, and they're drawing from that same aquifer.
But that's okay.
If you have a PFOA problem in that aquifer, those families are being poisoned. So we create this environment where we think we're helping, and we think we're just creating safety, and it's really just it's make work is what it is. It doesn't accomplish an objective. So, so the regulations are just like killing businesses. But I come firmly from that school of government doesn't create jobs, but it does create an environment in which you want to invest.
Right.
People are willing to lay down their hard-earned dollars. So businesses, the owner of a business might say, like, I'm going to cut back on my compensation and I'm going to invest in this new product line or something like that. Or I'm going to take out a loan on the business. Somebody might go mortgage their house and say, I want to start up a business. But we've got to create an environment in which people are willing to take that risk. And right now, with all these factors kind of working against the business startups, they're saying, like, it's too hard of a risk. It's too high of a bar to get into it. So, it makes it hard to get things going. And so we're not creating jobs. And, if you think about it, we look and we say jobs. We love the big companies,
right?
But GE started out in Thomas Edison's basement while he was inventing the light bulb, And so that's what these big companies started. Somebody has an idea, and they're like, I'm going to start this thing. I'm going to get this thing going, and then it grows from there. So
amazing.
It is amazing.
So I'm sure you have a website.
I do have a website. I don't want
to run out of time and not be able to tell people about they need to visit you and listen to you. And
so we have a website, which is frankedelblut.com. So
Edelblut.
And sometimes they'll put it up on the screen. I don't know if these guys
I don't know if they will, but Frank Edelblut, EDELBLUT.com.
Yep. You can find me on Facebook.
Yep.
And in fact, if you haven't found me on Facebook, I'm surprised because we are active.
I
in that
saw
market.
that you have over 6,000 likes on your web.
We do now have over 6,000 people who have liked us, which is interesting because we started this campaign at 0, right? And so we're just growing that. And really, the digital space is a really good opportunity to get out, to reach out to people.
Well, and I tell candidates across the state all the time, people think Facebook is just a social thing, like, I forget the number, it's something like 60-some% of people 45 and older have and use Facebook.
Right.
So if you're running for office and you're not on Facebook, I think you're missing
a big
group
opportunity.
Of people that's the only way they're going to ever see
that is a great group of people that you can reach out to. So you can find me on Facebook as well. And, if you contact the campaign, you can get a hold of me, and, we've got different events around the state that you can find out where we're going to be. And so you can connect up with us. We've got house parties going on. We have some great things going on in the campaign in terms of how we are, reaching out to the broad base of voters. I mean, we've been focusing in this campaign pretty much on, at this point in time, what I call the chatter class, which are the people who are paying attention attention to
Yep.
politics, which honestly not a lot of people are paying attention.
No.
You know, but we're now reaching out with a program that's never been done in the state before in terms of reaching the broad electorate. And I myself was out this last weekend and engaging in that, and just the response was unbelievable. People just are really having fun with it. So
Great.
yeah,
Okay,
I'm
so
excited.
the big question of the day: are you playing Pokemon Go?
So my daughter is playing Pokemon Go on my phone. So,
How old's your daughter?
she's 11.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
So yeah, apparently it's the thing.
I haven't walked into into the street or into any trees or anything like that.
I think it still requires human, logic. Don't
Right.
walk in traffic.
You know,
Don't
but
play Pokemon while you're driving on the highway.
can I tell you what's great about this technology? I mean, it used to be like the nerd gamers
Yep.
were always stuck at
Yep.
home. They were the couch potatoes. But now, in order to engage the game, you have to get out
You
and walk
actually
around.
have to walk. It doesn't work unless you walk.
Yeah.
And it is kind of neat to see so many people. I mean, I can walk through. I went for a walk with my boyfriend last night
Yeah.
because he was playing Pokemon Go, and
See?
yeah, but it was nice. We went for a walk in a neighborhood park, and it's funny because you can tell exactly who's playing because the people
Their
are
heads are
walking.
down.
Everybody's like this, but they're all talking to each other because they're asking
you
questions
find
about the
this?
game.
Did you find that?
Because for
Right.
those who don't know, it's kind of like a scavenger hunt for these little Pokemon creatures. So
I think it's a great
It's
a great
fun.
application. We're going to see more technology and more games that are doing
it
that. I
is.
have
It's
a feeling.
exciting. So,
yeah.
well, thank you for coming.
Thank you for having
I'm
me.
going to
Excited
wrap
to be
up my
here.
show. I can't wait to see you at another event. I look
Good.
forward to seeing more positive things come from your campaign. I'm sure you're going to do quite well.
We're out and about. We're going to
And
win.
when you want to
actually.
come and talk to Manchester Republicans, you let me know.
Thank you so much.
For those who are in Manchester, as I always say at the end of their show, make sure you get out there, enjoy the summer. Summer doesn't last forever. We have some great places where you can walk around, great parks. You can go up to Hooksett and go to Edgewater Kayak and kayak on the river, and that's a great way to get out. There's a couple things coming up this weekend in Stark Park. There's a concert series at 2. There's a Beatles tribute band playing there. That's up on River Road. You can get more information at starkpark.com. And also this Thursday, July 21st, is the Open Doors Trolley Night in conjunction with Majestic Theater. You can ride the trolley for free from 5 to 8 all evening and go to a variety of museums and art galleries for free. They open their doors, and you're welcome to stop in and visit them. You can find more information on that at opendoorsmanchester.com. And if nothing else, get out there and go find your Squirtle or your Gengar or whatever Pokemon creature you're chasing or your kids are chasing. Get out, enjoy the great outdoors, and see the beautiful city that we have here in Manchester. I'll see you next week.